Segment 2, Gold and Black Live, joined by Rob Hummel. And I always appreciate Rob's time because he is a busy man. He'll be doing games tonight on Westwood One, I assume, or
Yep.
and you've got the Chicago Regional. Too bad there aren't any Big Ten teams there for you.
I know.
I mean, it makes life tough.
I was ready for Iowa and Wisconsin to be there, and Auburn, who I have seen a lot on TV, and now it's Kansas, who I saw last week, taking on Providence. Who, if you look at that one, Providence, Iowa was going to be a 4-5 deal, so it very easily could have been them. But you look at the bottom part of our bracket for tonight, Miami, Iowa State, a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, boy, Miami just surprised me how they just absolutely
they've got some guards now that can just get downhill. They would be a scary team to see for a lot of people because they've got 3 and 4 guys that can just get their game on.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, the old adage of the NCAA tournament that and you've obviously played in it, watched it since your childhood, but is that the adage that's really true that guard play just can really be the separator down the stretch? Do you buy that line of thinking completely?
Yeah, I do. Now, I think that every coach would take a really good big.
Yeah.
I think they'd be like, yeah, we don't want him. But I do think that when you're talking about the NCAA tournament, the ball is going to be in the hands of these guards at the end of the game. And with the post, you deal with the fact that, and Purdue sees it, Illinois has seen it. If you throw it inside, they can double them, and they can, if that's your best player and you don't have shooting around him, it's pretty easy to I think mitigate a good big compared to a guy that is going to just get you off the dribble or get downhill and pick and roll. So I do believe it.
All right. What's that like? You've obviously done a lot of television and done a great job and et cetera, but now doing radio, what, I mean, just from a preparation, you're creating word pictures and doing that, but is that a bigger challenge for you? Or, I mean, how do you, and I know it's fun and it's a great experience, but what's that been like?
It's in a way easier and in a way more challenging. It's easier because, especially when you have teams like, let's say I'm doing Michigan State and another team that likes to push the ball, you're not going to talk very much.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to see what's going on like TV. So you got to let the play-by-play guy, once the ball gets across half court, pretty much get into his deal. Now, I have super respect for the play-by-play guys in radio because it is totally different. And the way they describe this stuff and the way they get names right.
Yeah.
Especially when, like, Kevin Cougar and I had a couple 116 games. And let's be honest, I haven't seen Texas Southern play a whole lot before when I saw them against Kansas, and I haven't seen Norfolk State play a whole lot except the Baylor game. So for Kevin to be able to do that, and for the analyst, it's much easier because you're hearing him say, hey, shot by Michael Smith. And then I can be like, yeah, Smith had, he's the one that's got to recall the name immediately. And I try to watch enough of their games to memorize the names anyway. But it can be hard when you have 8 teams. And like I had a situation where I was sent to Fort Worth. I hadn't seen one of those teams in person. Now, I'd seen Kansas a lot on TV. I'd seen Baylor a lot on TV. I'd seen North Carolina some, and they only play 6 guys. But I didn't have any Big Ten teams. And since I didn't do the Big 12, it was a lot of prep and a lot of learning names and learning how these teams play. So it was a good amount of work going in. And then one of those games was a play-in. Texas A&M Corpus Christi lost to Texas Southern. So you didn't know who was playing in that 116 until Tuesday night late.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. Now with radio, if it's a transition deal, you got to let the play-by-play guy talk, but it can be hard because you've got to be really succinct. In TV, you can talk a lot longer because the viewers are watching. Whereas if I'm talking about the last play and all of a sudden some guard just decides to drive it and score, well, I got to get out. Or occasionally, like this happened in one of our games, somebody had just an awful turnover. The team was walking the ball up and threw this terrible pass. So I'm in the middle of a sentence and I had to almost like abort my thought and be like, oh, a turnover and now a run out. So Kevin could get back in and be like, Christian Brown all the way to the bat. So that type of stuff is hard because you've got to be really on your toes. And there's going to be things that happen where you get caught like that and it's just harder to get out, but you try to get it back to your play-by-play guy because he has to tell the story. But I think when you listen to these guys that are good, whether it's Kevin Kugler or Brandon Gaudin or Ryan Radke at Westwood One, or Jason Benetti, those guys are all really good on both TV and radio. But you should listen to how descriptive and how much they talk. I mean, think about it. We do 4 games in a day on the first day of the NCAA tournament, and Kevin is just killing his voice. I mean, he's just murdering T. And for the analyst, it's much easier. It's still a lot, 4 games in a day, and by the end, you're like, my brain is like, mush up top. I'm having a hard time forming sentences. But I really enjoy it because the games are so fun. Westwood One has been great to me. This is my, I think, 3rd year doing the tournament. Would have been 4th had there been no COVID. But it's just doing the NCAA tournament. It's my favorite sporting event, out there. It's just such a incredible deal to see the way that these games go down. I played in them, so I know that, but getting to be around it still, even post playing, has been really fun for me.
And you work with Jason Benetti, have great chemistry with him on television, but and these guys are pros. That's what,
they are.
And I enjoy just turn on XM and listening to the games and how well they describe what the heck's going on. I think, and they're all good. And
it's like they go above and beyond too. Like, it'll be Eric Hunter dribbles to the right wing, switches hands over to the left, and now swings it across. It's like totally, I can't even imagine talking like that for a 4-minute segment from the under 16 to the under 12. I'd be like, I cannot do it. And they just do it the entire game. It's really pretty incredible.
It is amazing because I'm watching the game on TV. My brain's not even doing that. I don't even know he's going from right to left. I do know that you do watch things, but the way they put that together is absolutely amazing. All right. It's been an amazing tournament. We've had, we talked about almost the randomness of this whole event. It's not that way. The talent makes a difference, but what do you see? I mean, leading into, we're down to 12 teams now, but this is just been a crazy tournament, and yet maybe that's the way college basketball is. I don't know, but if there's a way to encapsulate a common thread, is there one? And looking ahead for a team like Purdue, that's going to have its hands full with the Cinderella tonight. This all ties into just a crazy tournament that anything can happen.
Yeah, I think that this is just kind of the way it is, and most years it does unfold like this. I filled out a bracket, and like I think how crazy this is because I just do it just to see, how are my picks? I'm not doing it like competitively, but aside from with my girlfriend, and she's beating me, which is pathetic. Because I'll have watched 80 games in person, and I feel like with that you should have a good idea. And I'm in the 35th percentile of the brackets, and she watches a good amount, but I think more so she picked teams off like, oh yeah, I like that coach, or I like their colors or their mascot, or just randomly picking them, and she's in the 95th percentile, so maybe that's a good way to describe it, where you're better off if you don't watch as many college basketball games. It's what makes the tournament so good, the randomness of it. Unfortunately, we experienced that in my time at Purdue, where VCU I'll never forget, because I wasn't playing, I'm watching those guys warm up, and they're making everything in warm-ups. Like Bradford Burgess is on fire. Joey Rodriguez is making everything. And in my mind, I was just like, oh, these poor guys, we're about to roll these dudes, and they're not going to make any of these shots in the game. And, they came out and they didn't miss. They were just incredible. And it's just, they hardly made the tournament, So I think that you have to understand that when you get to this level, especially in the Sweet 16, there's a reason that St. Peter's is here. They beat Kentucky. They beat Murray State. I had Kentucky in the Final Four. Maybe I'm hitting, but I really thought that they had a team that could get there. And Murray State is very good every year and was very good this year, and they handled them. And now you look at tonight's matchup. It'll be really interesting. I'm thinking that because Purdue is more capable of playing in the half court, it can change some things. And I haven't seen St. Peter's a ton because they were playing almost at the exact same time as our games were in Fort Worth. So I didn't get to see the Kentucky or the Murray State game, but it was I'm hoping that for our sake, our bigs can overwhelm, because I know they play 4 guards. I'm hoping that our bigs can overwhelm, and then Jaden continues to play like Jaden can. We need to get Sasha going for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's important for Purdue is to, and look, no one's trying to miss shots. Like, he's out there trying to make them, but we just need to keep getting him quality looks. And I think for him, he just needs to keep taking open shots when he has them, and not force the issue, because I know I've been there more so when I was in the NBA, and I was more of a 3-point specialist at that point. When you're not making shots, you can feel like, boy, I'm out here to shoot and I'm not making them. And, I feel that pressure. Whereas when I was at Purdue, if I wasn't shooting well, I was like, well, I'm rebounding. I'm a good defender at this level. I can contribute in other ways. Whereas in the NBA, it's like I stand in the corner, and if I'm not making these shots, I don't feel so good about my game. It's hard. And then you can start pressing the issue a little bit. So I think that Purdue needs to continue to try to find him quality looks, which I know they are. So,
yeah. And, Matt Painter about as well as anyone, and obviously played for him. He's not abandoning ship on. I mean, he's going to find guys that are going to contribute, and may play Sasha less if the matchup, I don't know.
Sure. And I think you saw that in the Texas game where Marcus Carr is hurting us in pick and roll. And what a great adjustment by Coach Payne to go to Ethan. And it helps when Ethan comes in and makes a transition 3 and makes another one. Yeah. So offensively, he's giving you something, but defensively, I thought he was just outstanding, taking on Marcus Carr and forcing him left and just giving him some problems with his size. And Purdue struggled with Marcus Carr over the course of his Minnesota career. He was a problem. We've seen him score a lot of points, whether it's in Mackey or in Williams Arena. So I thought that adjustment was really good, and that's probably why Sasha didn't play as much down the stretch in the second half. But he's not going to go away from him. I think he understands what Sasha Stefanovic's value is, and he's always a threat to make a 3. You have got to respect that.
Yeah, I think that that is a true statement. Ethan Morton's bigger than you think too. I mean, he's
6'6". Yeah, he's got good size.
You forget that. You think, well, he's 6'3".
He's done a really nice job this year defensively. I think back to the NC State game, he changed the game. Yeah, he really gave Dorian Sebron problems, and he did the same thing against Texas. Came in, guarded his tail off, made open shots. I mean, he is. You're right, though. You think he's more of like 6'3", 6'4", and you see him, he's more like 6'6", 6'7".
North Carolina and UCLA, and of course we can do this in the media, I guess, look ahead, and even, I know Purdue's not, and I know that tonight's game will probably not be an easy one. I just don't see Purdue beating them by 25. I just don't see that happening. But let's look ahead to Sunday, and you've 2 teams you may be a little bit more familiar with, and those 2, Purdue beat North Carolina in an offensive display back in November. The world has changed since then a lot for both teams. Yeah. UCLA is UCLA, and it's got an injury to deal with, but also has a tournament experience last year that got it to the Final Four when no one thought that was going to happen. What do you see from those teams? And everybody, yourself included, you can be biased because you're not doing Purdue games. You want to see Purdue in the Final Four.
Yeah, totally. And I will say,
for everybody.
I hope we win by 25 against St. Peter's tonight, because watching the game, I was thinking to myself, the only pro sports team that I still am invested in is the Bears, unfortunately. Yeah. And they've been so bad that I haven't been nearly as invested as I would be if they're good. And I'm sitting on the couch. I had gotten home from Fort Worth in the morning, and I thought about going to maybe watch it with some people here in Chicago, but I was like, no, I just want to watch the game and not have to hear people in a bar or wherever. Like, I just want to watch. It was a miserable experience. I felt so uncomfortable the whole time. Yeah. It's even when we were up 14, and then we started doing some stuff to let them back in, and we have a lane violation late in the game. And I'm just like, I don't think that I want this if the Bears are good. It's hard. It was really difficult to watch. And for 2 hours, I had this feeling in my chest of like my heart's beating kind of fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just don't really feel good. And you have no control, like it's easier to go out there and play in the games than it is to watch them.
Yeah.
So I hope we win by 25, so I don't have to feel like that for 2 hours of watching. And honestly, I'll be working, so I'll be following on my iPad while our game's going on. But with North Carolina, I think they're defending much better. Dawson Garcia is no longer with the team, and he really gave us problems in November. With that being said, Armando Bacot has just been an absolute monster. Double machine. Just broke the Carolina single season record for rebounds in a year. I think in our game against Baylor, or no, it was actually, I think, against Marquette in the first round. So he's been a stud. You know, who's playing really well is Brady Manick.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Manick has like 5 of the last 6 games, 20 points or more. They're playing him as a stretch 4. They're really finding him in pick and roll situations with him as like a replace guy with that roll and replace action. He is playing with a ton of confidence for sure. And I think for Carolina, the key to them is their guard play. RJ Davis had 30 against Baylor, had 12 assists in the first round against Marquette. I think Caleb Love's decision-making in the NCAA tournament has been really good. But they go as their guards go, in my opinion. And then they've got a guy in Leaky Black who is just a really solid player, does a little bit of everything, elite defender. I would assume if we saw Carolina again that he would get Jaden. Yeah. And he has some size and some athleticism where I think that'd be a very intriguing matchup. He's one of the best defenders in the ACC for sure. So Carolina's playing a lot better, and it was fascinating to watch them kind of melt down off the Brady Manick ejection because the game was over. I mean, there was 10 minutes to go, and
you're up 25, right?
Kevin and I were sitting there, and it's like, this game, there's no way they're coming back. And Manick gets ejected. Baylor has like a 7-point possession. Yeah. They go on a 10-0 run, and it was like a 10-0 run in 58 seconds. Yeah. I mean, just crazy. And all of a sudden the game changed, and the refs let them play extremely physical. Yeah. And with that being said, Carolina did a terrible job of breaking the press. And in fairness to them, Caleb Love fouls out at like the 7-minute mark. Manick's been ejected since the 10-minute mark. And Carolina really plays 6 guys legit minutes, and they were really playing 5 guys against Baylor. So you could see there was a guy, Justin McCoy and Dontrez Styles, had to play, and you could see in their faces against the press, they were like, I want nothing to do with the ball. Yeah. Like, I just want nothing to do with this. And they haven't seen it all year, so you can't blame them. They haven't been prepared for that from their season. It was fascinating to watch. They're playing really well, even though they almost blew the game. I thought for the first 30 minutes they were great. Against Marquette, they just boat raced them. So they're playing good. And I think for UCLA, the Jaime Jaquez injury is huge. Yeah. But you're right. They've got the the experience of the Final Four last year. They've got Juzang is a stud. Tiger Campbell's a really good player. Yeah. There's no shortage of talent on that UCLA team, and Mick Cronin's a really good coach. So even with who knows what Jaquez's status is going to be, but I do think that their talent level is really good. Unfortunately I wasn't able to watch them much. They were one of those teams that also were playing while we were going, but I know for a fact they've got a lot of dudes out there, so that would be a heck of a game. All
right, I would be the last person to want to steal your voice away, and if it's
no, you're good. You're good.
Starting to do it. All right, so and will you, if Purdue gets the Final Four, will you be working next weekend, or do you know yet, or is that possible? Or tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I guess I was maybe going to do the team streams, and I don't think they're doing them this year. They used to have like the TBS would be a Purdue slanted broadcast, and I was probably going to do that, but they're not doing them. I'll be down there for 3x3U, which is the 3-on-3 tournament for the college kids, and I announced it, which is really fun. It's a great event. They've done a really good job of building it up and making it something where I think the college kids enjoy it. I mean, Vince Edwards played the first year, and I want to say he probably won $50,000. Yeah. Or around there, maybe a little less than that, but still, I mean, for 3 days, playing just out of college. And now we'll see how name, image, and likeness affects that. Maybe guys are making so much money now, they're like, I don't need that. But they've done a nice job of filling it with guys, and I think the kids have had a good time playing in it. So I'll be down there for that. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My flight is Monday. If Purdue is playing, I will be changing it. So I'll be sure to go to the game Saturday if they're there, but I won't be working in any capacity at the games.
All right. Well, there are a myriad of more topics we can cover, but we are out of time. And I appreciate so much your time. We did talk offline last night about the fact that Purdue finally has the advantage. Now, again, St. Peter's is formidable. You had somebody fall down in front of you. Can be a good thing, but you still.
Yeah, we're due for it. I mean,
yeah.
Every year that I played at Purdue,
yeah,
outside of I guess my freshman year we lost to Xavier, who was they only made the Elite Eight, but they were good.
Yeah.
My sophomore year we lost to UConn, Final Four. Junior year, Duke, national champion. The year I sat out, VCU, Final Four, and then my fifth year, Kansas, national championship runner. They made the national championship game. They were the national runner-up. So, and I know that's continued on. Like I think about the Dakota team that lost to Kansas.
Yeah.
That was so good. And we have had to see these chalk brackets. So I'm glad that finally, not that St. Peter's tonight is a pushover. They've beaten good people, but this is the break that you want, right? This is where finally you're not running into a onslaught of teams that are capable. I not capable, but I guess the higher seeds that you expect to make it to the Final Four.
Yeah. First time I ever understood what trending on Twitter was Rob Hummel versus Kansas in the first half. And that guy's trending on Twitter. So you know what it looks like, and we enjoy your work and appreciate that, and enjoy the games tonight. And I hope on your iPad that you'll get some good news.
Yeah, I hope so.
That would be a lot of fun. But either way, the NCAA tournament's a very special thing, and you get to be a part of it. That's a very cool thing. So again, hey, thanks so much for your time. We will be back segment 3. Mike Steele, who was a little bit before Rob's time, will also kind of weigh in. He'll be at the games tonight as well. Good basketball analyst, former coach at East Carolina and at DePaul. Knows it when he sees it. We'll look forward to breaking down a little more this game down tonight with Mike. So, Robbie, have a great rest of your day and enjoy the games tonight. And thanks again.
Thanks, Alan.
All right.